let's talk about the chromatic scale. Now, the chromatic scale uses the smallest distance that we have in Western music, and that's the half step. And it's really easy to see it on a piano. So here we have a piano. We have our pattern of 2 black keys, 3 black keys, 2 black keys, 3 black keys. Now, the note to the left of the 2 black keys is C. So here we have C, D, E, F, G. Musical alphabet repeats after G. We go back to A. Now, if we start on C, any of these Cs, and we go up 1 half step, we are sharping the note. So this is C, and that is C sharp. So when you're going up, you're sharping. Now, if we go to D and we go down a half step, we're flatting the note. So that's D flat. When you go down, you are flatting the note. So this note right here has 2 separate letter names. It's C sharp and D flat. Now you'll notice that there's no black key after E or after B. That means that there's no separate pitch for E sharp and there's no separate pitch for B sharp. So if I was to go up a half step from E, I'm right to F. This note is technically E sharp, but we're just going to call it F. That means if I'm on F and I need to go down a half step, I'm going to E. So now let's look at the chromatic scale as a line. So we're going to start our chromatic scale on C. And if we go up 1 half step from C, we're on C sharp. If we go up a half step from C sharp, we have D. Up a half step from D, we have D sharp. Up a half step from D sharp, we have E. So 4 half steps up from our first pitch is E. And if we go up 1 more half step from E, remember there is no separate pitch for E sharp, we get to F. A half step up from F is F sharp. Then we have G, G sharp, A sharp, B. And just like with E, when you go up a half step from B, you get to C. So there are 12 half steps in between C and this next C. And if we look at that on the piano keyboard, we have C and then a C above it. The distance between these 2 notes is an octave. You hear that they're the same sound. It's just one is twice as high as the other. It's vibrating twice as fast. Now, if we're going to go back to our number line, if we go down from C, we are at B because there's no half step in between there, so there's no separate pitch for C flat. Down from B, we have B flat. Half step down from B flat is A. Half step down from A is A flat. Half step down from A flat is G. Half step down from G is G flat. Half step down from G flat is F. There's no separate pitch for F flat, so we go right to E, E to E flat down to D, and then D down to D flat. So those are all the notes in the C chromatic scale. The cool thing about the chromatic scale, it's a symmetrical scale. That means that any note you start on, it's going to result in the same pitches. So if we start on F, a half step up from F is F sharp, a half step up from F sharp is G. So once you understand the chromatic scale starting from any note, you understand the chromatic scale. Let's talk about the chromatic scale and how it relates to the guitar fretboard. Now, the great thing about the guitar fretboard is that the distance in between each fret is a half step. So if you understand the chromatic scale, you understand the guitar fretboard. So let's look at the E string. And if I was to play the E string open, the letter would be an E. Now, if I was to go up 1 fret, if I was to go to the first fret, I'm going up 1 half step. Remember, there is no separate pitch for E sharp, so I go to F there. So that's an F, the first fret. Now the second fret, I am sharping that note. So this is an F sharp. It's also a G flat. So if we go down from G, it's G flat. So there's G flat. If I go to the third fret, I have a G. Up a half step from G is a G sharp or an A flat. Up a half step from G sharp, we have A. Up a half step from A on the 6th fret, we have A sharp. It's also B flat. Up a half step from that one, we have B. And remember, there is no separate pitch for B sharp. So if you go up a half step from B, you are on the 8th fret, which is C. Up a half step from C on the 9th fret is C sharp or D flat. Up a half step from that note is D. Then we go up 1 more half step to D sharp or E flat. And then we get to the 12th fret, which is the same letter as the open string. What you're doing there is you are playing the string exactly at the halfway point, and now the string is vibrating twice as fast, and that is the octave. The first level of knowing your notes on the E string or any other strings is by counting up your half steps. So let's say I wanted to find a C sharp. All I'd have to do is start on a note that I know, which is E, it's open, and count up in half steps. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. Remember, there is no separate pitch for B sharp, so it goes to C. And there is C sharp or D flat, because there's D flat. What if I wanted to find G flat? That one's easier. E, F, F sharp, G, G flat. That note is an F sharp and a G flat. Or how about B? E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. It's really easy to see that level 1 understanding takes a lot of time. And if you're playing with a band and you need to find a note really quickly, you can't always be counting from the low E string or the low A string or the low whatever string. It just takes too much time. So the second level is to use some landmarks. And we already know a landmark. One of our landmarks is the 12th fret. So if we look at the guitar, the 12th fret is the halfway distance between the bridge and the nut, and that is where the string is vibrating twice as fast. And that is the same letter name as the open string. So we have E and E, or we have A, or we have B and B, whatever string name it is. If you're playing a 24 string guitar and you have all these crazy low and high strings, if you go to the 12th fret, it's going to be the same letter as whatever the open string is. So that's our first landmark. That means that we can count down from that landmark. If I need to find the pitch E flat and I know this as E, all I have to do is go down 1 fret from E and I have E flat. I don't have to count all the way up from here to get to E flat. It's a lot more efficient in finding those notes. So that is one landmark, and we have some other landmarks on the guitar. I like to look at the 5th fret as a landmark. Now the 5th fret is the same letter as the string that's above it. So the 5th fret on the low E string is the same as the A string. It's the same pitch, they're vibrating the same speed. So the 5th fret on the A string is a D. 5th fret on the D is a G, and then it changes a little bit over here because of the tuning, but the 5th fret is the same letter as the string above it. Now, the 7th fret is the same letter as the string below it. We're playing a 6-string guitar, so there is no string below the E string. But if you had a 7-string guitar, if you had one down here, it would be a B. So the 7th fret is a B. So that's another landmark. So we have the 5th fret as a landmark, we have the 7th fret as a landmark, and we also have the 3rd fret as a landmark. If you know your open position chords, you'll know that this is a G chord. And the lowest note of a G chord is this G. And we have all of the dots on the fretboard, and the dots are at our landmark points. So we have the 3rd fret, which is our G landmark. We have the 5th fret, which is the same as the letter name of the string above it. We have the 7th fret, which is the same as the string below it. You just have to remember that. It's a B. Maybe you have a 7-string guitar. I don't know. And then we have our 12th fret, which is the double dot, which is the same as the letter of the open string. So those are our landmarks. So now let's find some notes with our landmarks. So what if I needed to find G? That's easy. I'm thinking about my G chord. It is the 3rd fret. There's no need to count up half steps. What about A? Same thing. It's the 5th fret. I could count up from G, but that's a waste of time. I know that the 5th fret is the same letter as the string above it, which is A. What about E flat? So I know that the 12th fret up here is the same as the open string. It's an octave up. So a flat from there would be 1 fret down. That's the 11th fret. What about B flat? So I know that B is the 7th fret. It's the same as if I had a 7-string guitar down there. It's the same as my low B string. So it would be 1 fret down. You can also think about this as A sharp. If you know that your 5th fret is A, that's A sharp. And what about G flat? We have our G chord. We're going down 1/2 step to G flat. And now C, if I know that the 7th fret is B because of my low E string, and my low B string rather, then I know 1/2 step up from B is C. And it's a lot more efficient when you start learning using your landmarks. You could just look at those fret markers, use those as a pivot point to find sharps or flats or other notes around there. Now, the third level, which is the level that we should all get to, is where you don't have to count up at all. You just look at notes and you go, oh, that's a D. Oh, that's a B flat. That's an F sharp. And that is the level that you need to get to if you want to start applying your notes on the low E string or the low A string or wherever in musical time, because we have to rely on mental muscle memory if we want to play things without having to think about it. And that's when we can have fun, sounding good. So how do we get there? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these different notes and we're going to play them on the low E string. You're going to say the letter name of the note first and then we're going to play it. So we're going to go like this. We're going to say C and then play it. Then F and then play it. So that's how it's going to go. Now this might be way too fast for you right now. And that's okay, because we can always slow it down, do it at your own speed, speed it up until you can play it with me. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, start with C. We say C, play. F, play. B flat, play. E flat, play. A flat, play. D flat, play. G flat, play. B, play. E, play. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through our circle of fourths. You're going to say the letter name of the note first, and then we are going to play it. So it's going to go like this. You're going to say C, and then play, and then move on to the next one. Then you move on to F, and then you'd play. Now, if this is too fast, that's okay. Practice this on your own speed, at your own tempo. Speed it up. Use the landmarks on the string until you can get it to this tempo. 2, here we go. C, play. F, play. B flat, play. E flat, play. A flat, play. D flat, play. G flat, play. B, play. Whichever E you want. Play. A, play. D, play. G, play. By yourself. C, play. F, play. B flat, play. E flat, play. A flat, play. D flat, play. G flat, play. B, play. E, play. A, play. D, play. G, play. Once you feel comfortable with the circle of fourths on the low E string, then it's time to apply it to music that you like. So one thing you could do is you could just search up the chords and lyrics chart for a song that you like. This is Fireworks by Katy Perry. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind? And you can play the letter names of these chords. If you're a bass player, the bass player just plays the letter names of the chords most of the time, just playing the roots. So you can just take this song, all you need to do is play the letter names of the notes. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting in the wind, wanting to start again? I'm just playing the letters that I see on the page. I'm making those connections to where they are on the fretboard, and I'm having fun playing a song that I like. Another thing you could do is you can read a song from my power chord songs. These are all songs that you probably know, but I'm keeping you in the dark because it's fun like that. You need to make the connection yourself. So let's look at this one right here, this line, starting with the F sharp. Now, if you showed a guitar player this, they'd be like, what is that? But if you played it and you heard it, you would know almost immediately what song this is. So we're looking at this line right underneath here. So find your note. Don't really worry about the rhythm that much. Just find the note. So we have F sharp, then we have C sharp, then we have another C sharp. We got a whole lot of C sharps. It's just showing the harmonic rhythm. So you're going to have to play that rhythm. C sharp, then D sharp, then B. So I have F sharp, 1, 2, 3. Those are twice as fast. This is When I Come Around by Green Day. And if I was to play it with power chords. So let me show you a fun activity to creatively apply your knowledge of the notes on the E string. So we are going to write a metal song. And we have to go over some terminology first. So I was a metalhead in high school as a bunch of metal bands, death metal bands. You know what? I mean, this isn't the most metal guitar, but we can make it work. So the first thing you need to do is put your pickup selector on the bridge position. You're gonna pick close to the bridge. You can palm mute if you want, but let's hear your low E. And what we're gonna do is let's go through some terminology here. Now we have our gents or our chugs on the low E string, so we can just chug. You can chug along with me on the low E string. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna alternate between the low E string playing some chugs or some gents, and then we are going to play other notes on the low E string to get like something like this. All right, and we're gonna write it down. We're not gonna use standard notation. We're just gonna write down some letters. And you can just write letters that are close to each other to make the notes close to each other. It's like bump, bump. What really helps is if you can verbalize your thing. So da 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 da. You can do it like that. But I'm just gonna write down the letters so I can keep track. So I have E, E. Maybe I'm gonna go B flat and A. Oh, maybe I'll do 2 more E chugs, and then I'll do like E flat, and then I'm gonna use a lowercase e there to mean the octave. So. And then maybe like E, and then C, 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 B. All right, so I have my little song there, and then I have a backing track. So as with every metal song, it's gonna start off with 4 China hits, and then you're in, and then you have 4 measures to play your composition there. So I'm gonna get all set. All right, so here we go. Do it again. Maybe I'll end there. All right. So I think this is a fun way to apply the notes on the low E string. You're being creative. You're learning those notes. You're thinking about those landmarks. When I was doing that performance, I was thinking about, okay, I had my A here, I had B here, I had my high octave E here, and they're just finding notes around. Be a level 3 knower of the notes on your strings. See you in the shed.